Thank you, Brother Trucker, and welcome to the Fallon Forum. I want to thank the Iowa chapter of the Sierra Club and Iowa PSR, Physicians for Social Responsibility, for being sponsors of this program, and I want to thank Gateway Market for sponsoring this segment. I want to thank a few of our business sponsors, Leonard Tinker Heating and Cooling, and yeah, we're starting to move toward the cooling side of things, but if you need furnace work, AC work, call Tinker at 371-2114. Hawk Restaurant, another one of our business sponsors, had a great brunch event this past Sunday. They're open for supper as well, and for lunch, that's Hawk Restaurant. 90% of their food from local sources at East 5th and Walnut in the East Village. Also, I want to thank the Iowa Immigrant Entrepreneur Summit that's coming up on November 9th. It's a great opportunity to learn how to move your business forward. And I want to take a quick look ahead here. We got a lot to cover today. The last segment of the show, we're going to talk about a new level of hypocrisy by one member of our U.S. Senate, unfortunately, on farm issues, on farm subsidies, rather. We're going to talk about wrestling, dwarf wrestling, finding its way into Ragbri. What the heck is that about? We're going to talk about whether or not folks would like a little rubbing alcohol with their scotch, and a few other issues as well, including an innovative suggestion on fighting crime with food and fellowship and friendship. And you know how much I love alliteration. Also, Matt Hogue with the Iowa Environmental Council is going to join us to talk water quality. But first, I'm delighted to have Frama Harap on the program with me again. Frama, welcome to the show. Hello, Frama. Are you with us? Maddie, where's our guest? We're having a hard time connecting. Oh, well, we lost her somehow. Well, anyway, we're hoping to get it back on. Maddie's going to work on that. In the meantime, I want to switch gears. We're just going to jump ahead to one of the other items I want to talk about today, fighting crime with food fellowship. Yeah, this is an interesting situation. And if Frama does join us again, we will come back to this. But this is dealing with the recent outbreak of a lot of burglaries, car burglaries, home burglaries in the Sherman Hill neighborhood. And, you know, folks are rightfully concerned about a lot of security issues. And a very instructive response from a retired pastor. And I'll share that with you when we come back. Frama is back on the phone with us, and I want to go right to that call. Frama, welcome to the show. Okay, I don't know why we're having trouble here. We got her on the phone, but it's not connecting. What's up, Maddie? Don't know what's going on here. This is unfortunate because we have an important conversation to have regarding the garment industry. So not sure what's happening. But you know what? We'll work on that, folks. I'll go back to the other item I want to cover here. Reverend Mary Pope. She was my pastor when she was a Trinity Methodist Church, and again, she points out, I thought, a very astute observation. One, that a Trinity Methodist Church had identified a need in the neighborhood. Children, right across the street from the church is Moulton Elementary School, one of the poorest schools in the neighborhood. In the city, I should say, in the school district. And a lot of children ended up at that school hungry in the morning for one reason or another. Oftentimes their parents, Mary points out, their parents had to go to work early. And the church, in conjunction with other groups, including the Black Panthers, put together a safe place for kids to eat before school. Again, church was a very safe place and also had a great kitchen. And it became a real magnet. Now, she points out that 25 years later, she was a pastor at Trinity Methodist Church, and she noticed there was no gang graffiti on the church. There was at a lot of other places in the neighborhood, but never was there any graffiti on the church, nor was there any vandalizing. And she suggests, and I would agree too, that perhaps it was because, you know, gangs that were inclined to do that recognized that building, that church, as something. It was neutral space, and it was also a space where they had been nourished, where they had meals, they had safety. It was a place that had reached out to them when they were young and in need, and treated them as somebody deserving of respect, and in this case, food as well. So, Mary goes on to say, what does that have to do with Sherman Hill and the recent spate of burglaries? And she says, well, perhaps we as a neighborhood can help out at the school in the neighborhood. Edmonds School, of course, is also a low-income school. We can either help maybe by tutoring or helping with some of the other projects that are needed at that school. Maybe we can get together with the folks at the cathedral. This is a new church in the neighborhood, a new church in an old church building. They're the ones that, by the way, have moved the old gas station there from what used to be Don's, I can't remember what brand of gas it was, but it was on the east side of downtown. I used to go there all the time. So now they've got the gas station. They're using it for some kind of youth outreach program. And she's saying, well, maybe this is a place we can do some good as well. Maybe kids at the nearby homes of Oak Ridge can begin to know us as individuals and as a community that cares about them, and that we can begin to know them as individuals as well. She points out it's not a quick and easy fix for all the issues and all the problems that we face, but maybe it's just a starting point where we can help to break down some of the walls between us. I thought it was a very, very good letter, and it had some other favorable responses. And again, I don't fault people for being concerned about burglaries. This is funny, actually. My car. Now, if you know me and you've seen my car, you would try hard not to laugh if you saw it passing on the street. It's really old. It's like a 1995. It's got 237,000 miles. My car is so battered, and I don't mind that. I don't mind that at all because I don't use it that much. It is so battered that about 2 months ago, I came out there, and I only drive it every couple weeks, I came out there, and there's a notice on the car from a local salvage company offering to haul it away for parts. I mean, come on, it's not that bad. All right, it's got a lot of rust on it. The rust color is growing, but it's not that bad, please. So I was kind of surprised and a little put out that they decided to post that note on my car. But interestingly, despite that, 2 months later, my car's burglarized. And all they made off with was the old tape deck. I'm not even sure those are worth anything anymore. But so now instead of listening to music or talk radio on the rare occasion that I drive, I get to practice some of my favorite songs. So my own experience, but again, I don't think we should take the issue lightly. I think folks that are concerned about security and safety and protecting their property have a legitimate concern. But I think what Mary is talking about gets to a deeper level. How we connect with people, with children in particular. Because remember, 2 of the kids who were caught are ages 5 and 8. These kids probably need to feel like they are not alien to the neighborhood adjacent to where they live. So again, Mary, your suggestions, spot on. The example of Trinity Methodist Church finding a way to avoid graffiti and avoid vandalism. Excellent point. I hope we can take that to heart in the Sherman Hill neighborhood. I believe we now have Frama Harap on the phone with us. Is this true? Hello, Frama. Well, I don't know what's going on. We keep thinking we have it figured out, and then it doesn't happen. We're still working on this, folks. I will give you a little bit of background on what we want to talk about. The garment factory collapse in Bangladesh recently. It has galvanized public opinion about the garment industry in a way that other catastrophes have not. And I think it's simply because of the phenomenal number of people who died, over 1,100, because of the crass and brazen disregard for public safety, public health in the construction and regulation of that building. I mean, the guy was supposed to build a 6-story building. He put another 2 floors on top of it. The ground on which the building was built is unusable. It's not designed for that purpose. And so the story is that this should never have happened. And it's not like this was an isolated incident. This is happening a lot. There are garment factory fires, unfortunately, a fairly regular occurrence. Garment factory buildings collapse. There was recently in Myanmar a smaller disaster where part of a factory, a shoe factory in this case, collapsed. The problem is you've got an industry that is minimally regulated, where officials look the other way, even regarding those minimal regulations. And And it's creating the situation that is beginning to rile up public opinion about just what a problem this is. So my feeling is that this is a good time to have a conversation about creating a local clothing movement, about trying to find a way to begin to generate the clothing industry we need here at home. And again, some of that is happening. I got some really good responses on Facebook from people who are aware of things that are happening. American Apparel apparently is one thing. And locally we have people like Mike Draper at Raygun, like Ian Miller, who are trying to do more in that direction. But clearly we've got a problem when the vast majority of our clothing comes from sweatshops where people working, horrible jobs, horrible conditions for minimal wages are regularly at risk of losing their life in one of these horrible building collapses. I would say the other reason why this incident in particular caught our attention was because of the amazing survival story of one woman and the unfortunate attempt to rescue another one that failed. They kind of put a face to the problem, and add a personal dimension to it. I'm going to take a quick break here, folks. And we're going to see if we can reboot our phone system and get Froma back on the phone with us. We've got another guest joining us by phone as well, actually in the studio, Matt Hogue. Not sure what's going on. We don't usually have this kind of trouble. So we'll see if we can sort that out for you. I do want to take a second to thank the Matthew Shepard Awards Banquet for putting on a great program. That event is on June 7th. It's particularly it's a significant event every year, but this year more so than ever because the parents of Matthew Shepard will be in attendance and will be providing the keynote address. I do want to thank Tally's Restaurant Bar and Catering as well up in Beaver Ave. Tally's Robert Sander, the owner, does some great stuff with local foods and has been a longtime supporter of this program. I also want to thank Diana's Wedding Cakes. If you live in Newton, you maybe know Diana and her famous wedding cakes. But if you live in Des Moines, you're not that far away. You should consider having her make that cake for your wedding, Maddie. I also want to thank Gateway Marketing Cafe for sponsoring this show. Gateway is at 20th and Woodland. They're a grocery store and a cafe. We'll be back in a few minutes. We're going to take some ads from the sponsor of this studio, Max World.
From the RE/MAX Real Estate Concept Studios, this is Webcast One Live.
Drug and alcohol addiction slowly steals a person's identity, tearing away pieces of their life little by little until one day it seems like the hope of a happy future is gone and there's no chance of getting it back. Here at St. Gregory Retreat Centers, we can assure you that there is hope. Our unique approach to recovery begins with the understanding that the dysfunction and damage caused by addiction can be overcome, not just dealt with. Don't let another day go by. Call St. Gregory today.
Check.
The dawn of a new era begins.
Well, good morning. This is the 7th of June in the Lord's year 2010, and this is day one of webcast1live.com. We will begin with Max World Live with my special guest, Tom Coates. In just a minute, there's Tom. Wait. Howdy. And we will be live for the very first time on Webcast One Live. someday we're going to look back on this and say, gosh, remember that old day in history? Wonder where Walter Cronkite was. He must have been around hanging there too. But actually, it's the beginning of Webcast One Live. And thank you for listening. Thanks, Rob Spearman, and everybody who's put together this project together. And we're ready to go live now. So thanks for listening to MaxWorldLive.com.
I can't tell you that it's going real well from time to time, but it is going, man.
I'm Brian Leach, owner and general manager of Service Legends. I brought along a couple of the home comfort heroes.
Hi, I'm Tammy Wells.
I am Nick Wondershot.
I'm administrative manager
I am the senior technician.
from Service Legends.
It seems like every good thing, when you feel it to the bone that it's good, there's a lot of hard work put behind it. I don't think that you can fake it and have it turn out good.
You know, if we seem like, okay, that's just weird, it's just a furnace, why would you believe so deeply in a furnace? It's not just that, you know, we want to show the world that you can have good service.
Yeah, I mean, it's got to be, it's your home.
You know, it's built into our daily trainings, it's built into our culture, that we're gonna do whatever it takes to have each client say they love us, period.
That's why we spend all the hours in the training that we do. And if we guarantee it's going to be a good experience for you, or else it's free, what type of work do you think we're going to do?
There is a guarantee.
Temperature selection guarantee, fixed rider it's free guarantee, comfort guarantee, best value guarantee. All of these guarantees hold us accountable to ensuring that we exceed your expectations. And if for whatever reason we'd fail and we can't make it right, we guarantee all of those guarantees with a 100% money back guarantee.
I mean, if you don't think that your technician can fix it right, are you gonna say that to a client? No.
You don't have to worry about having a technician come to your house.
We drug test, background check all of our team members. We put safe people in your home. Each and every one of our service techs, 400 hours a year in training.
You tell it the minute they walk in the door. They know what they're doing, they've done their homework, and they actually truly care about what you want.
Because at the end of the day, you're the person that makes sure I have a job.
They're gonna be listening. They're gonna wanna know what your challenges are. Then they're gonna come and give you options, and you get to choose.
If I'm there to help and I make it easy and painless, I did my job right that day.
Well, when it comes to your comfort, safety, and your family, you know, you don't necessarily go buy the most expensive, but you get the most bang for your buck.
Oh, it's worth it, because there's a lot of people that will find a way to get it to work right now and then leave and then come back, charge you again, and the cycle just repeats itself. So when I'm out there looking at the furnace, I want to find why it failed today. How can we change the part today with something that you're not going to have to worry about? Is it worth changing the part today? I mean, you can put a lot of money into a furnace. I can fix parts all day. There's good job security in that for me, but is it the right thing for you?
I get a lot of the phone calls of after the technicians are there. They're just in awe. They're like, wow, you guys are great. I mean, I don't even know what to say. You guys are great. Everything you did was perfect. It was great.
Keep going though, I like this.
Just give us a try. I'm gonna take all the risk.
I've got the time to make this right. I've got the support to make it right.
Just check us out.
And if you don't see the value in what we do,
I mean, fixed rider, it's free or 100% money back.
enough said.
From the RE/MAX Real Estate Concept Studios, this is Webcast One Live.
I want to thank the Matthew Shepard Awards Banquet for sponsoring this segment of our show. And I also want to thank Fighting Burrito for being one of our business supporters there at 13th and Locust in Des Moines, also in Ames on Welch Avenue. Join the fight, folks. Speaking of Ames, Story County Veterinary Clinic just off of Highway 30 between Ames and Nevada, also one of our business supporters. Thank you, Dr. Kim Holding, for your backing. And I also want to thank Ritual Cafe. Make them a daily part of your ritual there at 13th and Locust as well. That's a hopping corner in Des Moines. Welcome back to the conversation, folks. And I want to welcome Froma Harap to the program at last. Froma.
Hi, Ed.
I am sorry about the technical problems.
Hey, these things happen.
Yes, and my brilliant producer, Maddie, sorted it out in relatively short order.
she is a genius.
Well, if I was working on this, it would take me another 100 years. But anyway, I always enjoy your columns, which appear pretty regularly in the Des Moines Register. Now, you're, of course, with the Providence Sentinel out in Rhode Island.
Yeah, Creator Syndicate actually is my syndicate.
Okay.
Yeah.
But we appreciate your columns here in Des Moines, and I almost always agree. And I found myself in disagreement, and I said, my gosh, I've got to give Froma a shout and see if she'll come on the program so we can fight about it.
Horrors.
It's we were discussing the garment factory disaster. And my feeling, and I had a guest on my show from Bangladesh who was of the same mindset too, that this is a good opportunity for American consumers to say we're not going to buy stuff made in sweatshops anymore. And you offered another perspective, which please lay out for us, and then we can discuss it.
Okay, well, I think the situation is a little complex. We've been buying stuff from sweatshops, starting with sweatshops in the United States since the turn of the last century.
True enough.
And what happens in every country, starting in ours, and then after World War II in Japan and Taiwan, and these were all low-wage countries that did a lot of manufacturing. The factory conditions were pretty awful, and but as these industries grew, the workers were empowered, and they were able to get better working conditions, better pay, and in fact, you now have companies in Taiwan having things made in China, and now Chinese companies are having things made in lower wage countries because China is no longer the bottom of the basement in terms of wages.
But it's disturbing to me that corporations continue to find a way to find a lower, a poorer place to go, a place to once the working conditions improve, the wages improve, they find somewhere else where they can take advantage of that labor force.
Yeah, and I agree with you. It's not a pretty process. And I, for one, I mean, I'm one of those dinosaurs. If something's made in America and it costs more and it's of comparable quality, I'll just buy the American product.
Yeah.
And I'm also look at where a lot of things are made these days.
I am a similar dinosaur.
Yeah.
But I think it's a good thing.
Yeah. I don't apologize for it, but I do recognize at the same time that the growth of these apparel industries, in these very, very poor countries, they change the economy and they change the prospects for a lot of people who were living horribly impoverished lives, especially in rural areas. In the case of Bangladesh, you have all these women who came to these factories, and we shudder at what they were paid and some of their working conditions, but they regarded it as a step up. Their alternative was being in the countryside, scratching out some dry dirt.
See, now scratching out the dirt sounds really good for me as an Iowan who really likes agriculture. I mean, that sounds great. I love scratching in the dirt.
You have good dirt out there.
Well, we do. It's true. It's so good we call it soil. But I mean, were these farm workers really? That's what they were. They were farm workers, and I don't know. I really don't know whether they owned their own land, whether they were working in poor conditions for some large farmer, or whether they were forced off the land because of various issues. I mean, that certainly has happened in Mexico. A lot of corn farmers there are now living in Mexico City and other big cities because of cheap Iowa corn, compliments of NAFTA. So was this a choice they made? Was it really an improvement?
I think it's a different economy. I don't think those farms compete with our farms. And we have these industrialized farms. We have a lot of farm subsidies. We have great soil. We have good machinery, all that. These are in Asia. These are small farms. They're working for their family farm or they're working for a neighbor's farm. Nobody's getting rich on these farms. And the women in these communities, they have a choice of working on these farms for tiny amounts of money at backbreaking work, or not working, or going to the big city and getting a job at one of these factories. And it's interesting. Bangladesh is a majority Muslim population country where women have not had many roles and positions of power. And one of the few places where they do now is the labor unions in Bangladesh. And these are women who came up through the apparel factories. And they now, they're now in positions of power, the first women in their society to be in those positions.
Okay, but so what, looking at the big picture again, what happens when conditions finally improve in Bangladesh to the point where Walmart and other big corporations feel they need to go somewhere else to find the cheapest possible labor source? I mean, are they going to run out of places eventually, or eventually will they be back in the U.S. when our working conditions get so bad that we become the next low wage opportunity?
Well, okay, there are two things there. One thing is they're going to do what other countries have done, what China is doing right now, which is, China has this long-range plan. They're not going to be a low-wage, low-skill economy. They have a very big program to educate their workers now, so that their workers are going to go up the ladder into different kinds of jobs.
Right.
So they're not panicking over this at all. They're just regarding this, this low-wage manufacturing is just one step in the progress to something better. In terms of running out of low-wage countries to which to go, that is an interesting question, and I've thought of it myself. And I think, yes, certainly in Asia they're going to run out very soon. I mean, they're down to Bangladesh. I think Vietnam remains one. There are maybe Sri Lanka. But I think what's happening in manufacturing, frankly, is robots. And that a lot of these jobs are going to eventually be taken over by robots, and they'll, in fact, will be done in this country. And we won't be hiring a ton of manufacturing workers, but we'll have people in our factories to run the robots.
So it's an interesting prediction. So again, the jobs will come home to the U.S., but not to U.S. workers, but to U.S. robots.
Right. I think the idea of massive employment in manufacturing in the U.S. is probably over. And,
well, that's a shame. Is
well, I mean, yeah. Well,
we all can't be columnists and talk show hosts.
No, I appreciate that, but we'll think of other things. Well, I think some people I do read the futurists say there will be a premium on people who can do crafts, people who are good with their hands, who can make good furniture, or there's certainly a need for people who can fix computers and right. telephone lines.
Yeah.
And so,
well,
there were similar predictions about agriculture, because at the turn of the 20th century, 19th to 20th century in this country, I think about half or more worked on farms. And now, what is it, 2% or some very small number? And we're doing okay. Even in Iowa.
I mean, it's more than 2% here, but even I mean, farming is not the not more than half the employment base like it used to be.
Right. So it's now less than half the employment base.
Yeah, I don't know the exact figure.
Yeah,
but
that's happening in Nebraska too. I know that. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, let me ask you this: I mean, I think maybe the main point we disagree on is how to respond to the horrific conditions at garment factories. We agree that that's a problem, that it's horrible. And I think we might even agree on the direction it might be heading. Although I hope you're wrong. I really hope you're wrong on the robots. I do not want a robot, fixing the zipper to my jeans. I just really don't. I don't like that idea. But but your concern is that if we don't buy these sweatshop products, go out and buy that T-shirt made in Bangladesh, because if we don't, then we condemn the workers to even more severe conditions. My feeling is that we have to not buy that stuff in order to force the employers to do a better job at finding conditions that are manageable, that where they begin to pay their workers the right wages.
Yeah, my position. My position's a little more nuanced than that. Believe me, when I go to the stores now, I see something made in Bangladesh, I just kind of inch away from it. But I have been a business reporter for many years. Having covered economics and trade, I do know that the workers in Bangladesh are a lot better off for having this manufacturing. That they're moving up a ladder. That they, a ladder from just dire, grueling poverty. That it's good for them. Now, what happened after the terrible tragedy at Rana Plaza, is that I think a lot of these retailers that bought the stuff here and in Europe really felt that a lot of people would be like me. They would inch away from products made in Bangladesh. They might even inch away from their own products because they do manufacturing in Bangladesh. Even their products made in under better conditions. So they have actually put together there has been a reaction to this. They've put together a plan whereby I think H&M, the Zara chain, a bunch of other retailers in the Netherlands and Tesco in Britain and the parent company of Calvin Klein, Tommy Hilfiger, Izod, they've signed this pact where they would have a legally binding plan requiring them, the retailers, to pay for fire safety and building improvements in the factories they use in Bangladesh.
That's good, but do you think the corporations will go for that?
Well, these have signed on to it.
They have actually signed on it. Well,
I will say that it's controversial in this country. Gap, for example, would not sign on to it, and I don't think it was. I don't think their problem was improving the working conditions. I don't think they minded that so much as fear of being legally at risk. That if something happens to a factory in one of these countries, that they will be sued by the workers. Right. And from what I've read, that's a phony fear. But I suspect it's heartfelt for some of these manufacturers. Well,
though it goes against my nature as a talk show host, I'm going to let you have the last word.
No, don't do that.
And I do look forward to having you on the show again sometime. I'm glad, even though I might have disagreed on the response to the garment factory collapse in Bangladesh, I think it's. I'm really glad you wrote about it, and I think what those companies are doing is good. We need to be thinking about what happens next, and I think we've had some good conversation about that as well. So.
Yes, well, I think the answer for them and for us is education that just allows our people to do different kinds of work. But in the meantime, this is, as I said, this is a stepping stone to something better for a lot of these people who are impoverished peasants from the countryside, frankly.
All right. Well, hey, thank you so much for joining us.
It's been a pleasure.
Okay, I look forward to continuing to see your columns in the newspaper.
Thank you very much.
All right, Fallon.
And and I look forward to talking to you again.
All right, thank you.
Okay, bye.
Thank you. Folks, I want to thank Sergeant's Garage for being a sponsor of the Fallon Forum. They've been working on 4 generations of Fallon mobiles. They're at 6th and College, just north of downtown Des Moines. Give Graham Gormley a shout there for your vehicle needs. I want to thank S&P Piano. Talk about moving heavy objects. They know how to do it. My piano is a big one, and they've moved it a lot. They will do a fine job, and they'll take your piano anywhere in the country. I also want to thank Dan Kelly as a real estate agent. He's been a sponsor of this program as well. And if you live in Newton, Dan Kelly knows where to put you. He's got all sorts of stuff that he can put you in touch with there. And again, I want to thank Matthew Shepard, the Matthew Shepard Awards Banquet, for being the segment sponsor for this segment of our conversation. We're going to go back to our conversation here with Matt Hogue with the Iowa Environmental Council in just a minute. I do want to thank the $1 Million Marathon for sponsoring this segment of our show. That's coming up June 21st, 160 people running across the country, each doing a marathon, passing the baton to raise awareness and money for cancer. That's sponsored by Above and Beyond Cancer. I also want to thank Max Wellman and his music for helping to provide some good tunes for this program. I want to thank Sid's Catering. If you've got some catering to do, Sid can cover the range of opportunities from gluten-free to vegetarian to ethnic to you name it. I also want to thank the Iowa Immigrant Entrepreneur Summit, which is coming up November 9th. It's a great event, folks. Learn more about that on my website, fallonforum.com. Welcome back. We're going to take we're going to save a short segment at the end of the show to talk about a whole bunch of issues. So hang on to your hat, and including dwarf wrestling and whether that should be on RAGBRAI or not. Dwarf wrestling. Who knew? We're also going to talk about a congressman who is off the wall, I think, when it comes to his comprehension of welfare. And we're going to talk about how you ought to be careful when you order a scotch, because you might not be aware that there could be what is it called again? Let's see. What is it called? Rubbing alcohol. Who knew? Anyway, we're going to talk about that later in the program. We got a hot button topic, though, to talk about here with Matt Hogue with the Iowa Environmental Council. Iowa's water quality is questionable. Well, that's nothing new there, but the nitrate level is way up, folks. The nitrate level is up so high that the federal government continues to think about whether they should come in and manage our water. Matthew, welcome to the show.
Thanks, Ed. It's good to be here. I think I'm in the wrong segment, though, because rubbing alcohol and scotch, I don't know if you can have me around for that third portion of the program today.
Have you tried that?
I haven't. I think that it's been interesting, around the country you see sometimes distillers and folks who produce, coffee shops and breweries and these kind of folks, they understand the importance of clean water to start their process with. So I don't know. I could offer some insight to that segment. Yeah. Keep me around.
Well, as appealing as rubbing alcohol and scotch sounds, I think I'm more intrigued by a nice cool glass of highly processed Raccoon River water. Would you like some?
I do drink the tap, and I would do it on camera on your program.
We would get you some water here in a second if we could.
We are big. We're big proponents of trusting the tap, Ed, because we think that Iowa's public drinking water infrastructure is very important. We want people to be able to feel safe drinking the water in their homes. You're going to do it. Don't filter it. Oh, he's filtering it. You can't see on camera. But we want people to feel confident that the water is safe. And I want to emphasize that we've been having
why not? If it's good, why not a little bit more safe, huh?
Well, yeah, we'll get to that.
More safety is better than less, right? Right?
That's right. Now, for nitrate, the Brita filter there with the activated carbon probably isn't going to take nitrate out of the water.
But they already did that at the Des Moines Water Works.
That's right. And that's the issue that we're here to talk about today. So I am drinking the tap. We trust the tap.
Okay, I slipped a little rubbing alcohol in there. Sorry, I just told you now.
And a little bit of scotch. So that's so there you go. The point that we want to make is that we have had a very unique set of circumstances here in the last few weeks in the Des Moines area where we saw very high nitrate levels occur simultaneously in the Raccoon and the Des Moines rivers. Now, both of these, as you know, are sources of drinking water for the city. There are other sources.
The Raccoon being primary.
The Raccoon is primary, that's correct. But there are actually several different sources that the Waterworks is capable of drawing from. Typically, all of them are, well, they're generally surface water sources. But what happened here is we saw high nitrate levels in both rivers, and that really has sent the Waterworks scrambling to keep up with what is a 10 milligram per liter drinking water standard for nitrate. And so folks in the city are aware, it's been a couple weeks now, but the city has switched on its world's largest or very substantial nitrate removal.
It's kind of sad that we have to have the world's largest nitrate removal system in a city the size of Des Moines.
Right.
I mean, there are thousands of cities around the world that are bigger than Des Moines.
Right.
I mean, we're the best.
Right.
We're the cultural
and
culinary crossroads of America.
Right.
Don't forget. But we're small compared to.
Right.
I mean, there's one city I visited in India, a small city, 3 million people.
Right.
So I mean, we've got the biggest nitrate removal system. Yeah. Meaning we've got a huge nitrate problem.
Yeah. And it's growing over time. I want to say a couple of things. First of all, so far, you don't want to fall into the rut of saying, well, they've just switched on this nitrate removal system, so usually nitrates aren't a problem. The levels have been high, and the folks at the Waterworks, basically even on an hour-by-hour basis, make decisions about how they're going to mix those different sources of water they have in order to keep the water for the people of Des Moines safe. And so far, they've been successful in doing that. To this time period, we're not aware that the city has violated that 10 milligram per liter standard. So that's why, we're continuing to drink the water. We continue to believe that it's important.
Okay, but let me ask you, if the system works so well,
yeah,
then why bother at all? I mean, let farmers dump as much anhydrous. Let them dump as much on their crops as possible. Who cares about soil runoff? I mean, if we're able to filter it down here in Des Moines, big deal.
Good point. Now here's I want to make the point, we don't want to cause a panic, so we want to make sure that people understand what's in the water. But I also want to say that, to me, what's noteworthy here are two things about this event. First of all, we've set it's not just a spike in nutrients. They haven't just gone up, the nitrate. We've hit a new record in both rivers at the same time. We've never seen levels this high. And in fact, the Waterworks has data for about 30 years that they've shared with us, and it's posted on our blog, iaenvironment.wordpress.org. You can go and look at it while I'm talking about it if you want to show that over 30 years, both the concentrations and the raw amount of nitrate in the water reaching Des Moines has been climbing. And so our Waterworks has invested millions of dollars in different treatment options that can keep the drinking water safe. But we're in this race where it seems like we keep maxing out the capacity of our treatment system to keep up with what is a growing problem. And the question is, if we've set a new record now, what happens if we continue to see climbing levels? We could easily get into a situation where the system can't keep up. And in fact, over the holiday weekend, we came very close. We're still waiting for data from the Waterworks. So last week, the Waterworks sent out a message saying, we need folks in the city of Des Moines to conserve water for irrigation, because they temporarily, this is the length to which we have gone, they temporarily stopped using water out of the Raccoon and Des Moines rivers as of last week. And the Waterworks said, we're using it from storage, from different things that we have. We need you to avoid using this water for irrigation, because if our demand goes up too high, we're going to have to go back to those rivers for a source of water, and then we may be at risk of violating the federal standard this weekend. Now,
because the equipment would be unable to get it all out?
It can't keep up.
Okay, all right. So
this is the challenge that we have. We have an escalating pollution problem, and a Waterworks, a public water utility dependent on surface water. So they're very, whatever happens in a rapidly changing pollution situation, they have very little time to react. And as this problem gets worse, their options become more limited.
Okay. Yeah. So we have Bill Stowe, the head of Des Moines Waterworks, responding in pretty strong language about the importance of farmers doing more to prevent nitrates and tops and soil, for that matter, from getting into our water supply.
Yeah.
And we have the Farm Bureau, predictably, and some farmers responding like, hey, we're doing the best we can. Your system's working. You haven't had to use it in 6 previous years. What's the big deal?
Yeah. Well, I would say, first of all, I would point people to the Waterworks' website, where they actually responded to those statements. We haven't used the system in very long. I want to let the Waterworks speak for themselves on that. So if you go to their website, you can find, they've talked about some of the other treatment options that they have in addition to just the nitrogen removal system that they use all the time. So like I say, it's a growing problem that, you look at a kind of a pyramid of solutions that they have, and that nitrate removal system is what's right up at the top. And so by the time you've turned that on, things have gotten to be pretty extraordinary to begin with. And so naturally, the Waterworks is doing kind of a crazy thing. They're looking at where their water comes from, surface water. They're looking at the land use upstream, primarily agricultural, and they're asking some questions about what's being done to achieve conservation results on that land in the watersheds that they depend upon. And what they have found is that generally Iowa's action for conservation of our soil and for reducing the amount of nitrogen and phosphorus reaching the city, those efforts don't seem to be succeeding, because, again, there's a 30-year trend of these pollution levels slowly creeping up. Right. And so the Waterworks and Bill Stowe have become very concerned that that we need a different type of action, and that leads us to Iowa's nutrient reduction strategy, which is being put out as that kind of plan. And this is a strategy that Iowa State University, the Iowa Department of Agriculture and Land Stewardship, and the Iowa Department of Natural Resources announced last November. It is touted as a plan that combines efforts to be made by cities, wastewater treatment plants, as well as agricultural or non-point sources of pollution, which, if you're looking at nitrogen or phosphorus, it's a little bit different how it works out, but the overwhelming majority of this is coming from the non-point source side. That's been documented by state government for a number of years now. So the agricultural action on this strategy is really critical to whether it's going to succeed or not. And most folks, along with us at the council, are very concerned by the basic philosophy that the action by the cities, point sources in this plan, is required, and action by non-point sources, by agriculture, by landowners, completely voluntary.
Yeah, well, it's because they have a very, very powerful lobby, and they've been able to keep it voluntary even as the cities are required to be the final point at which something has to be done. And again, that's paid for by local taxpayers through property taxes.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, the situation that you see is where, the Clean Water Act, which celebrated its 40th anniversary last year, does not apply to non-point sources, even drainage tile lines, which drain a farm field or this kind of thing. It doesn't apply to those sources of pollution. And so we need some kind of additional way to get conservation practices in place where they are needed. And this is what the nutrient strategy aspires to do. We're very concerned that it won't be successful because there really isn't any set of standards in it for, how many of these practices do you want to have in place? When do you want to have them done? How are we going to know that if we take some steps forward, we aren't simultaneously taking just as many steps back? And so what the council has done is we strongly support the idea of having a nutrient reduction strategy, but we would prefer to have one where you can actually measure success and know that it's working and know that those tax dollars are being spent effectively. Yeah. The situation is for somebody like me who drinks the water.
There he is, proving it again.
I know. For somebody like me who drinks the water, I'm paying for the water to be treated. I'm paying for that nitrogen removal facility. I live out in West Des Moines, but we wholesale purchase some of our water from the city of Des Moines too. So
and some of it comes from Maffett.
There you go, various places. And so I'm paying for that water to be treated. I'm paying for additional for additional treatment actions on my wastewater under the strategy. I'm supporting federal farm policies for conservations, and so in some ways I'm paying for action on clean water in Iowa, in at least 3 different ways, and you might say even more ways than that if you really got serious about it. So what we have said is, where is the additional commitment on the non-point source side so that we can actually be confident things are going to get done?
And I've got to run to some other conversations here, Matt, but this is good information. And you are a statewide, Iowa Environmental Council, a statewide organization.
Yeah.
I'd love to get your take on the situation facing folks in Ames. I don't even know. I don't know whether they get their water from the Skunk River there or not. And in Northeast Iowa as well. I don't believe it comes from the Mississippi there, but I could be wrong.
The other municipal water system that we're concerned about is Cedar Rapids, which takes its water from the Cedar. Historically, the Cedar hasn't had the same kind of nitrate problem that the Des Moines and Raccoon Rivers have. But the city of Cedar Rapids came out with a press release in the midst of all this too, saying that they had detected a higher than ever level of nitrate as well.
So the problem tends to be worse in central Iowa than it does in, for example, Ames or Northeast Iowa or even Cedar Rapids?
Yeah, what makes our water utility unique, and this is 2 things. First of all, the land use upstream of us is particularly agriculturally focused. We get into that Des Moines lobe, that real flat land. There's a very intensive row crop production. And then also, we're a surface water dependent utility. So a lot of communities in Iowa get their water from groundwater. It's much less susceptible to those rapid changes in pollution.
Well, Matt, thank you so much. Really appreciate you joining us today.
Yep, happy to be here.
Matt Hogue, folks, with the Iowa Environmental Council. I want to thank Gateway Market again for being one of our business supporters. Check them out, folks. Grocery store and cafe at 20th and Woodland. I also want to thank Community CPA and Associates. Yeah, taxes are done, but not a bad idea to consult with them about your accounting needs. That's a Community CPA at 3816 Ingersoll in Des Moines. And I want to thank again Fighting Burrito. Again, I really appreciate the business supporters that make this show possible. Fighting Burrito, not just located here in Des Moines, but also in Ames on Welch Avenue. And as I mentioned, the $1 Million Marathon. Thank you so much to Dr. Deming and Above and Beyond Cancer for putting together a fantastic event. 160 people running across the country, marathons, each one of them, to call for attention to the cancer crisis and to raise money for cancer research. Okay, we're going to switch gears here, folks. We're going to talk about a few things as we wrap the show up. And, Matthew, if you're welcome to stick around if you're welcome to dialogue with me about some of these issues. They're not necessarily related to your focus of your work, but you're welcome to weigh in. Right. I do want to take a second to thank the Immigrant Entrepreneur Summit for sponsoring this segment of our show, and also Tally's Restaurant, Bar, and Catering in Beaverdale. Also Surrey County Veterinary Clinic in Ames and Hawk Restaurant at East 5th and Walnut. Please, folks, support the businesses that support the alternative to right-wing radio. Okay, so where to start? There's always plenty of things to talk about, but since we're talking water quality, I think I want to start here. Okay, New Jersey eatery pours rubbing alcohol in lieu of scotch. I said it was a mixture. Apparently, they substituted the scotch with rubbing alcohol. Investigators in New Jersey last week, they went out around the state looking for problems, and they found one. One place they got food coloring and rubbing alcohol were masquerading as scotch. Oh, how delicious is that? It was called, this is great, Operation Swill. Operation Swill identified 29 restaurants around New Jersey, including a dozen Thank God It's Fridays locations. Yeah, I mean, I don't have the whole list, but I wonder whether most of the violators were chains. I mean, certainly out of 29 violations, almost half of them were TGI Fridays. And they were alleged to have filled bottles of premium brand liquor with cheaper brands. Okay, they didn't do the rubbing alcohol thing, but they did dumb down their liquor to cut their costs. All right, and it just amazing that this happens. I mean, I don't know. I've never even. Can you actually drink rubbing alcohol?
I don't think I would recommend it.
Come on.
No, this seems to offend you personally. Are you don't you think that people here in Iowa are sophisticated enough Scotch drinkers that they would be able to tell the difference and avoid this stuff? Like,
I would hope so. I mean, maybe this is a comment on the lack of sophistication among the New Jersey drinker.
I like to believe that Iowans are big believers in quality, so I like to think that here in our state this would not succeed, but I don't know about that. I don't know how you do a taste test to prove it either. But
well, Maddie, maybe next time we have Matt on the show, let's bring some scotch, some rubbing alcohol, and some food coloring, and we'll have him do a taste test. See if we can fool him.
You'll have to buy it.
For that?
I'll have to buy it. I'll see if I can get a requisition put through for that. Okay, all right.
I don't know. On the related subject of what you put in your mouth, diners apparently are badly underestimating fast food calories. A quarter of those surveyed shot low. They underestimated by about 500 calories how much what the calorie level is. A lot of the stuff you get in fast food restaurants. So I'm not surprised. I understand. I mean, I don't even eat this. Do you eat fast food, Matt?
I have before. Yes.
Yeah, before.
I will disclose.
Okay.
Do you request the menu information when you go to they make it available?
I never go to
a
fast food restaurant.
Yeah. The controversy seems to me: are we going to put the calorie counts on the menu board, or are people going to have to ask for it?
Yeah. Well, again, I guess the bottom line for me is when it comes to avoiding high calorie, low nutrition meals, and avoiding food coloring and rubbing alcohol masquerading as scotch, much better to go to a locally owned restaurant or bar. All right, this is almost, I don't even know why this is newsworthy. I'm not even sure why I'm talking about it. Maybe because I like to bike. But I think actually there are some libertarian issues raised here. There is a restaurant in Dallas Center, out your way.
I'm actually a graduate of the Dallas Center Grimes High School, so
you are okay. So do you know about this? There's a bar out there owned by Brian Fallon, no relation to Fallon, the Longest Yard Sports Grill.
Okay, I'm not a patron of that particular establishment.
Okay,
but.
So they're under criticism right now for wanting to. They're planning. I mean, again, RAGBRAI goes through Dallas Center on the day from Perry to Des Moines, and they want to feature two dwarfs wrestling. I mean, I think it's tasteless and tacky and silly, and maybe even gross. I don't know. But the government. I mean, the city council has all been out of shape about this. They want to get. They want to. And one of the council members, Councilman Terry Gibson, says midget wrestling. Midget wrestling. That's funny. Midget wrestling sounds more like a carnival event. Why, isn't that what RAGBRAI is? I mean, I don't know. I'm having a hard time.
One could argue.
I'm having I don't like this. I wouldn't go.
Yeah.
But I have a hard time telling this business owner, no, you can't do that.
Well, last time RAGBRAI came through Dallas Center, there was a controversy because the town baked a whole bunch of cookies, but they were too close to the last stop that had food, so no one bought the cookies. They undersold. So I think they found a way to punch through a level of
So
notoriety for Dallas Center.
You can't sell cookies.
Shouldn't underestimate the idea.
Put the midget
that this
wrestlers
is,
on display, huh?
Yeah, there you go.
All right.
I think, it's interesting. I got a master's degree in public affairs at the University of Missouri, and we did an ethics exercise on this issue. If you are
on
a
midget
local,
wrestling?
Yeah, if
You're
you
kidding.
I am not.
You
I
did
could
it.
show you the textbook.
Did you get a good grade?
I did, actually, because I had a very principled discussion of it. It was, to me, it's a human rights issue. People want to do that for their profession. We tend to not want to interfere, but there was lively discussion on both sides.
What is the human rights angle on this then?
Well, you see, it's that libertarian side of the argument, I think,
Right.
which was the idea that if somebody wants to make their living doing this, who are we to disagree? However, good arguments on both sides. I can show. I'll get the textbook out.
I understand. But where does the human rights angle come in?
Well,
are we violating
people
the
should
human
be able to
rights of
free.
midgets?
Some people would say you should be free to make a living the way you want to, but
Right.
that's up to.
Well, what about the Wizard of Oz? Were the Munchkins being taken advantage of?
I don't know. I think that I would just, if you go to Dallas Center, try the cookies. That would be my actual recommendation.
Okay, skip the midget wrestling. Try the big cookies.
They're great bakers.
Big
in Dallas
cookies,
Center. That's
small
my
wrestlers,
actual
yeah,
opinion.
okay.
I'm just going to stop there.
All right. Yeah. Well, my only opinion about it is, this is not a role for government. And the guy says that the city council and the mayor, they've heard complaints about it. They say, I have friends in Dallas Center. I should ask them how they feel about this, but they're afraid that it makes the town look bad. I don't think so. I think it makes it might make the bartender or the bar owner look bad, or it may make them look enterprising. Take your pick.
Dallas Center is a great community. Go ride the Raccoon River Trail up through there. That loop is opening up soon, so there's a lot of great stuff going on in that town. And go Mustangs. And Phillies, Mustangs and Phillies, yeah.
Go Phillies. Okay,
yeah.
All right. Well,
yeah.
As long as the Red Sox beat the Philadelphia Phillies, I'll be with you on that.
Well, the two mascots at home, the Mustangs and the Phillies, both from DCG, so we support our community.
Okay. Well, this is an interesting item too. This is Tennessee Congressman Stephen Fincher. Talk about hypocrisy. He is advocating for cutting out the food stamp program. And here's how he describes it. He says, quote, "This is other people's money that Washington is appropriating and spending." Wait. Every dollar that Washington appropriates and spends, or that Des Moines, for that matter, appropriates and spends, is, quote, other people's money, meaning it's our money. So here's the real kicker, though. Fincher, turns out that, this is, and of course, food stamps is part of the Farm Bill debate, which should be called, in my opinion, the Farm and Food Bill. Mm-hmm. Turns out that this guy has collected $3.4 million in agricultural subsidies since 1999.
Yeah.
In, quote, other people's money. What kind of disconnect exists in his mind that he can't see that he's getting other people's money for farm subsidies, and yet he wants to prevent the poorest of the poor from food stamps because it is, quote, other people's money. Am I missing something, Matt?
Farm Bill politics always have that divide, I think, between the subsidy side and the SNAP side. And some people have talked about pulling food stamps out and doing it separately. But I don't know, Ed. It is an amazing set of politics on that particular legislation.
Yeah, I don't get it. I guess if you're a rich farmer, it's okay. If you're a poor person just trying to scrape by, different story. Hey, let me finish by the way we started. And thanks for being a good sport and sticking around for this conversation.
Yeah.
Flooding disrupts travel with more rain ahead. This is was it a month ago we were still talking about Iowa's drought?
Yeah, right.
And now we are talking about flooding. We're not just talking about it, it's happening. Mm-hmm. Story County is seeing quite a bit of flooding.
Yep. There was a levee break up near New Hartford this weekend. Springbrook State Park was evacuated because of high water. Yeah.
It really, this has become the new normal. And again, people are saying, well, it can't be climate change because we had the drought last year. Now it's raining too much. No, actually, that's the model. That's what we're supposed to be seeing, according to the scientists who have not been bought off by big oil. We're supposed to see these extremes.
Right.
Really, this is a month ago or two at the most. We were talking about the drought. It was still a problem. Now it looks like flooding is going to be an issue. We have rain forecast every day this week. I don't know what that does with the nitrate issue either. It probably just makes it worse.
Well, additional heavy rain events make that whole situation more unpredictable. And so certainly it is a big, it's all related, Ed. The way water moves across our landscape is a big problem for Iowa. We like to say that one of the most important ideas about flood control is natural filtration, natural withholding of floodwaters. You need more conservation land to do that, just like you do to take nitrates out of the water. So natural systems can handle more of it if we take that public policy seriously in our own state.
I mean, and I wonder, I mean, Cedar Rapids was one of the worst natural disasters in American history. Again, since the frequency of disasters keeps getting, I mean, it keeps getting worse. I mean, look at what happened in Moore, Hurricane Sandy, Katrina. You know, I don't think the situation that hit Cedar Rapids or that hit Des Moines in 2008 or 1993 is going to be exceptional anymore. And I'm concerned that maybe this is another year where we're going to see this kind of catastrophic flooding.
Right.
Can I make that prediction, Matt?
Well, I went back and read through, that big report that came out from the climate change panel for Iowa talking about what the impacts were likely to be. And they talked all about how we're seeing humidity levels go up. We're seeing the frequency of heavy rain events go up. And so this is it portends our future.
Well, thank you so much for joining me, Matt. Folks, I got to wrap up the program here. I want to thank you for tuning into the Fallon Forum. Again, thank you KHOI in Ames. Thank you KPVL in Northeast Iowa. I want to thank Tally's Restaurant Bar and Catering again for being a sponsor of this program. They're at Beaver Ave, just south of Urbandale Ave. Again, open for lunch, supper, and a fantastic Sunday brunch as well. I want to thank Community CPA and Associates. Again, you got tax needs, accounting needs, give them a shout at 288-3188. That's 288-3188. I also want to thank Ritual Cafe, one of my favorite hangouts on 13th Street between Locust and Grand in downtown Des Moines. Not just a great coffee shop, but a fantastic music venue as well. Every Friday and Saturday and lots of other nights as well. Great music there. I want to remind you of the Immigrant Entrepreneur Summit coming up on November 9th. That's at Drake University. It's a great opportunity to learn how to grow your business, how to deal with Affordable Care Act changes, new tax code changes. Check it out online, folks. More information on my website as well. That's the Immigrant Entrepreneur Summit. I want to thank Maddie Arrington, my producer, especially for sorting out that phone issue we had earlier. I want to thank Webcast One Live for providing the studio. I want to again thank my organizational sponsors, the Iowa chapter of the Sierra Club and Iowa Physicians for Social Responsibility. Remind you again about the Matthew Shepard Awards Banquet coming up on June 7th, a great event. Remind you again about the $1 Million Marathon. That's June 21st, leaving the West Coast, coming through Iowa mid-July. They're still looking for a few marathon runners. And I want to thank my anchor sponsor, Gateway Market and Cafe. Folks, keep your money in the local community. Don't send your shopping dollars out of state when you can support a great local business like Gateway Market. Again, not just a great grocery store, but a cafe and a catering service as well. I'll be back tomorrow.
From the RE/MAX Real Estate Concept Studios, this is Webcast One Live.
I'm Brian Leach, owner and general manager of Service Legends. I brought along a couple of the home comfort heroes.
Hi, I'm Tammy Wells.
I am Nick Wondershide.
I'm administrative manager.
I'm the senior technician
from Service Legends.
It seems like every good thing, when you feel it to the bone that it's good, there's a lot of hard work put behind it. I don't think that you can fake it and have it turn out good.
You know, if we seem like, okay, that's just weird, it's just a furnace, why would you believe so deeply in a furnace? It's not just that, you know, we want to show the world that you can have good service.
Yeah, I mean, it's got to be, it's your home.
You know, it's built into our daily trainings, it's built into our culture, that we're going to do whatever it takes to have each client say they love us, period.
That's why we spend all the hours in the training that we do. And if we guarantee it's going to be a good experience for you, or else it's free, what type of work do you think we're going to do?
There is a guarantee.
Temperature selection guarantee, fixed right or it's free guarantee, comfort guarantee, best value guarantee. All of these guarantees hold us accountable to ensuring that we exceed your expectations. And if for whatever reason we'd fail and we can't make it right, we guarantee all of those guarantees with a 100% money back guarantee.
I mean, if you don't think that your technician can fix it right, are you going to say that to a client? No.
You don't have to worry about having a technician come to your house.
We drug test, background check all of our team members. We put safe people in your home. Each and every one of our service techs, 400 hours a year in training.
You tell it the minute they walk in the door. They know what they're doing, they've done their homework, and they actually truly care about what you want.
Because at the end of the day, you're the person that makes sure I have a job.
They're going to be listening. They're going to want to know what your challenges are. Then they're going to come and give you options, and you get to choose.
If I'm there to help and I make it easy and painless, I did my job right that day.
Well, when it comes to your comfort, safety, and your family, you know, you don't necessarily go buy the most expensive, but you get the most bang for your buck.
Oh, it's worth it, because there's a lot of people that will find a way to get it to work right now and then leave and then come back, charge you again, and the cycle just repeats itself. So when I'm out there looking at the furnace, I want to find why it failed today. How can we change the part today with something that you're not going to have to worry about? Is it worth changing the part today? I mean, you can put a lot of money into a furnace. I can fix parts all day. There's good job security in that for me, but is it the right thing for you?
I get a lot of the phone calls of after the technicians are there. They're just in awe. They're like, wow, you guys are great. I mean, I don't even know what to say. You guys are great. Everything you did was perfect. It was great.
Keep going though, I like this.
Just give us a try. I'm gonna take all the risk.
I've got the time to make this right. I've got the support to make it right.
Just check us out.
And if you don't see the value in what we do,
I mean, fixed right or it's free or 100% money back.
enough said.
From the RE/MAX Real Estate Concept Studios, this is Webcast One Live.